Yep. So Seton Hall won 67-65 in Ann Arbor. That came a night after Marquette won 67-66, erasing a 12-point second half deficit and I believe it was 8 points with 5 minutes left. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Fanta. But I mean, look, that to me was kind of the quintessential Shaka Smart performance for Marquette, right? Forced 26 turnovers, completely getting the head of Andre Curbelo, who I have no idea what happened to him down the stretch, but we can kind of get into that a little bit. But before we talk Illinois, I just look, you got to give Shaka his flowers. I mean, that guy kind of went through it at Texas, but I think that coaching at Marquette, this program, to me, is the perfect fit for who he is as a coach, the program he wants to develop. And if you look at it, T.O. Gottlieb made this point when we were on with him on Tuesday night. If you look at the best Marquette teams and the guys that they went after,
mean as shit,
Butlers, the Jay Crowders, the Dominic James, the Wesley Matthews, there's one other kid,
Jimmy Butler,
the Gerald McNeils. Jimmy Butler was the first one. You think I'm going to sleep on Jimmy Butler?
Well, you were napping. You were napping. You weren't quite there, but you were taking a nap. You almost forgot him.
Look, if I sleep on Jimmy Butler, he's going to come find me. He's going to hunt me down. Never. It was Jarrell McNeil, but that the larger point is just that kind of player is the kind of player that Shaka is going to recruit. It's the perfect fit for him. T.O., I know you played for him when he was he's an assistant at Clemson. What did you see out of that program? What did you see out of that team? And what did you see out of Marquette on, I guess it was Monday night now?
I sent him a text after the game. I was like, man, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. There was a point, I think it was before the first media timeout. Fanta, you were there. You saw this, but like they forced a turnover and it was like a soft press. They forced a turnover and Shaka turns around to the crowd and goes berserk.
Yeah.
And it was such a culture defining thing for what he's best at, what he's great at. Like those guys played insanely hard and he has them playing full of confidence. They're not going to run a ton of stuff complicated offensively. There's going to be some motion stuff. There's going to be some ball screen stuff, but they're going to freaking crawl in you defensively. And what did he do in order to mix that game up a little bit? He took Curbelo out of the game for the first 30 minutes, and then Curbelo took himself out of the game for the last 10 minutes. So they're switching defenses constantly. They're making it ugly. They're taking shots out. They're taking 10 to 15 seconds out before Illinois could run anything. And they just completely took the game out of Underwood's hands because they're having to worry about breaking pressure and then getting into offense. And it showed a lot about Illinois, but we're not talking about them yet. I just love the enthusiasm and the passion. When I texted him, I was like, man, I'm so happy for you that you get to go back to doing what you're really, really good at. And that's motivating. That's getting guys to play insanely hard. And that's putting pressure on and making the crowd feel like they're part of it.
His entire the entire thing that makes him what he is being able to get guys to buy into a bigger cause, to create a family dynamic, to say, hey, look, you're going to play for your brother over there and not just have it be coach speak, have it be like the guys on that roster and on that team believe it. If you talk to anyone that played for those VCU teams from, 2010 to 2016, like they're all connected. Everybody from every year knows each other. It's a family dynamic. And I think that that's something that he's going to be able to find a way to build at Marquette. It's just
get that at Texas. Couldn't get that. You can't get 5-star kids to press at Texas.
Well, the other thing is it's not just the press. It's that you don't get the continuity. You're never going to be able to have guys stay for 3, 4, 5 years when you're out there recruiting players like Mo Bamba, and you're recruiting players that are like the Jackson Hayes. You're recruiting guys that are going to end up being one and dones, two and dones, Kai Jones, players like that. It's just not. It's not going to happen. And it kind of limits what your ceiling can be. Because again, so much of what he does is about getting old, staying old, and building that culture. Fanta, you were there. You were with him before the game. You did a whole bunch of content for the Big East Digital Network down there. So what did you see? You were boots on the ground, as I like to. Actually, for you, it's probably loafers on the ground, right?
Loafers on the ground. Yeah, I did pull out the boots. My loafers on the ground, what they saw was a team that was incredibly connected and a team that in the second week of the season, with so many questions on the offensive end, put those aside and said, you know what, we're just going to defend the hell out of them and we'll take our chances doing that. So Shaka Smart was thinking about this game plan and just kind of discussing with him and his staff. The thought was, okay, do we sit back once they get into the half court, and do we allow Curbelo to drive through the lane? Because guess what? If we allow him to do that, if we sit back, he will pick us apart, because that's what he can do when he's at his best. They said, you know what? We'll take our chances going at him. We'll take our chances going at him. And if we go at him, it might lead Trent Frazier to some open looks. And guess what? Trent Frazier got open looks, and he was outstanding in this basketball game for the first 30 minutes. But Marquette's will to go at Curbelo. They just sent, like in Lion King, when they send the hyenas after, that's what Marquette did in this game. And I thought that Daryl Morcell showed in this game that he had played Illinois before. And apparently he had never lost to Illinois. And it wasn't going to start on this night. It wasn't going to start on this night. Daryl Morcell played his tail off. He was the leader for Marquette in this game, guys. In 126 career games at Maryland, Morcell never scored 20 points in a single game. He has crossed that mark 3 straight games at Marquette, and he told me Shaka Smart has inspired him to say, I am going to be that guy, which it's a telling transfer. It really is, that Morcell went to Marquette. Somebody texted me beginning of the game and said, why did Morcell go to Marquette? Monday night, they found out why.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Illinois. Tio, I'm going to go to you in 1 second, but I do just want to make the point because it's kind of the elephant in the room. Kofi didn't play. Kofi Coburn, first team All-American, did not play.
Don't you negative me out of this Marquette win. I'm a Big East guy.
No, I'm not taking anything away from Marquette. But I am going to say for Illinois, like I think what his presence provides changes so much. One, it's a pressure release to throw the ball to him in the post and know that you're either gonna get fouled, you're gonna get a bucket, or you're gonna force a double team that gets the defense moving and can create some closeouts. That takes pressure off of Curbelo to be the lone creator, and he obviously was not doing it well. The other part of it is I think what we saw in the final 8 minutes is Marquette did a really good job at just kind of funneling the guys that were driving to Kur Kuat, the transfer from Oklahoma, who, I mean, look, to his credit, he played a hell of a basketball game around the rim in the second half. He had a bunch of blocks. He put a couple that through the backboard against Curbelo. And I think that if he was aware that there was a 7-foot, 290-pound monster lurking behind him, I don't know if he would have necessarily had as much free range to go do that. So yes, adding a first, this is to say, just to get it out there, adding a guy that's a first-team All-American, Illinois fans, would have made your team better. We get that. We have to talk about what actually happened on the floor. So, T.O., I'm going to you. You played a lot of basketball games. One, have you ever seen a dude just kind of melt down the way that Curbelo did down the stretch? And then two, if you're Brad Underwood, put yourself in his shoes at about 5 minutes left in that game, and you're kind of in the middle of Curbelo going full Curbelo. You never want to go full Curbelo. A half Curbelo is fine. You never want to go full Curbelo. And how do you go back and change that if you're Brad? Is there what can you do differently to kind of stop the bleeding?
Well, first and foremost, I don't want to be that guy that really comes down hard on a kid, because obviously I got kicked out of my last college game because
we know.
I lost. Well, I know, but I'm prefacing.
That story has been told on the field of 68 Media Network.
Yeah, I'm prefacing. So, I mean, the elbow against Michigan, I get kicked out of my last game. These things happen. Mental farts just happen. The manner in which he did it, though, and it wasn't as selfish as what I did, but the manner in which he did it, he couldn't get out of his own way. And one thing that we've talked about Curbelo is this is an emotional dude, man. He lives on a high wire. He gets really fired up, and then when he's really good, man, he's spectacular. But when he's really bad, you saw what could happen. He could lose you a game, and he lost this game. I feel bad for even throwing it on one person, but when you have 7 turnovers, 4 of which were in the last 3 minutes, I think it's warranted. I will say this. I just went back and watched the last few plays. Illinois still had a timeout. And if you're Underwood, you want to save that timeout towards the end. But you're winning towards the end of that ball game. You have a mental complete breakdown by Curbelo at the end. And I'm not attacking what Underwood decided to do, because he's thinking, well, I need to save this in case this game comes close. I need to be able to draw something up. But I was wondering, I was like, man, they've got to get a timeout, because surely to God, he's not going to keep doing this. And he sure did. And it was like, I was kind of waiting for something positive to happen, to where surely to God, he can't do it again. Did it again. Surely to God, he can't do it again. Did it again. And it was like the presence with Kofi Coburn, that changes that ball screen a little bit more too, because that's a hell of a screen. Like Coleman Hawkins is a big guy. Omar Payne's a big guy. They're not the physical presence that Coburn is. So I felt bad for the kid, because it was one thing after another, but this was a great learning experience. You almost wonder if Underwood's saying like, hey, I'm going to let this kid die on his sword right now so that I can teach this later, which this is a huge teaching opportunity for him. He's never had to deal with the stress of a packed house. He's never had to deal with fans screaming at him and making fun of his headband. Like, they make fun of everything. Like, they're unbelievable, these students. This is a major teaching point for him. He's going to be better because of it. And Illinois is going to be much better because of it. And then when they get Coburn back as well, like, the pieces are there for them to still be really, really good. But this was great. This was a great learning experience.
Yeah, and it's not always a bad thing early in the season when you know you're going to make the tournament to kind of get your ass kicked a little bit and have there are coaches that will tell you that they like having situations like what Illinois just went through, just so you can kind of say, hey, look, you did it your way and we fucking lost at Marquette. So now you're going to do it my way because I don't want to lose anymore.
Yes.
I don't think that's necessarily.
And I talked about it a little bit when we had Doug Gottlieb on on the After Dark show after the game. And it was like, sometimes this Kentucky team that went undefeated all the way till the Elite Eight, they were winning in spite of development, because that team still had a lot of holes, but they were winning. So it was like, well, we're still winning. Maybe we don't have to take care of it as much. This is one of those games that you're going to be able to take a lot from.